Okay, I believe we're on. The clock is ticking. And, well, the clock has run out on the Minnesota Vikings for this season, and I suspect probably for next season. I walked out of that fucking stadium today like a goddamn zombie. I'm drained. I've got nothing left for this team for this year, and maybe not for this entire regime. So Vikings lose 19-17 to the. This is recording, right? I can't quite see this thing. Yeah, it is recording. Okay. Yeah, 19-17 to the Bears. Season's over. Threw away a whole season, and probably gonna throw away some more seasons, at least one more, at least part of next season. Knowing this bunch. And why? Well, it's J.J. McCarthy. I don't want to hear fucking anything about, what about the drive he led at the end and he threw the touchdown? Great. I mean, for one thing, that play meant nothing, because we knew they scored too fast. Even on that drive, it's like, oh, we got to just pass. But whatever. It's like, okay, well, congrats on the utterly meaningless drive at the end of the game that didn't mean anything. It didn't matter. It doesn't change. It didn't change the performance in the game for McCarthy. It doesn't change the fact that unless we see like one of the most historic turnarounds, and every fucking defender of this guy is like, well, what about all these other rookie quarterbacks who were bad at the start? I bet you they could throw a simple fucking 5-yard pass with some accuracy and some consistency, because J.J. McCarthy sure as fuck can't. Just an embarrassing performance against a bad defense. The Bears have a bad defense. Again, I don't know that the Bears are even still going to make the playoffs. I mean, their schedule after this now, like, we have to say the Vikings are a bottom feeder team. I think they have one game left against a bottom feeder team. They got to face a lot of good teams the rest of the way. I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs. As for the Vikings, their season is completely over. They are now 4-6. They are. I know there's going to be traffic because they got a freeway closure. So I know I got a lot of time to do this video. I don't want to drive all over the fucking town again. But yeah, 4-6. They're buried. The one thing they still had kind of going for them was the division record. They had a tiebreaker coming in on the Bears. Theoretically, I suppose they still could ultimately have a tiebreaker, at the end of the season, but it's not going to matter at this point. You basically would have to win out now. They basically have to win out to make the playoffs, and that's sure as fuck not going to happen with this bust of a quarterback. So, but if the J.J. McCarthy defenders, if the people and there's people out there in the media and fans who just bought in 1,000% to this. Oh, you got to get a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. That's the only way to win. Well, we're not going to win, and we're not going to win with this guy ever. But we're certainly not going to win on his rookie contract. So that's a bust. That's a waste of time. But I know normally I kind of just like recount, like, okay, here's what happened in the game. Here's what happened in the game. The first 3 quarters of this game were, I mean, it was in contention for the worst Vikings game I've ever attended in person. I don't know what the actual worst one ever was. I mean, there was a Bears game a couple years ago on I believe a Monday night when it was kind of the end of the end for the Dobbs mania. And that was bad, and they lost that. That was the game that they lost. But This was worse than that for 3 quarters. J.J. McCarthy was absolute dog shit in this game. This was just a completely unwatchable performance for the quarterback, and he got his ass booed. I have never heard boos to that extent at US Bank Stadium. Never. I never heard boos like that for Christian Ponder. I never heard boos like that for anybody. And it was deserved because he was horrible. He was absolutely fucking horrible. He could not complete just a basic pass. Some of these throws he missed in this game today are just the most basic throws. I don't want to hear, oh, he's a rookie. It's first year as a starter. He needs experience. These are throws you should master in college. Oh, but that's right. J.J. McCarthy didn't throw the fucking football at college. All he did was hand the ball off all the time. This was the knock on him coming in, was that, is he really going to be able to play in the NFL? We don't know because most of what he did at Michigan was hand the ball off. Well, I think we've learned that the guy can't throw. And not with any consistency, not with any accuracy. He's got a bit of a cannon, but as has been well documented, he seems to only want to throw it with like maximum speed and velocity. He has no touch on any passes. Simple passes. These are the simple throws. Even the simple throws that any quarterback, any rookie, any first year starter, any journeyman, anybody should just be able to throw just basic, just move the chains type of throws with consistency. This fucking guy can't do it. He can't do it. I don't know that he'll ever be able to do it. I certainly don't think he will, and I certainly don't think he will ever be able to do it at a level that is going to be worth throwing away multiple seasons to watch this fucking clown develop. He wants to be called 9. I came up with a new nickname for J.J. McCarthy after this game. His new nickname is Strychnine because he makes me want to drink it. He is a bust of a quarterback. He is a bust. He is not going to ever be worth this. I don't give a fuck that he led a little touchdown drive at the end of the game against a terrible defense. Finally he bothered to hit a couple of wide open receivers. Well, thanks. But guess what? You can't make 5 decent throws in an entire game and be a franchise quarterback. You can't. He's not even going to be able to be a backup quarterback in this league. He's going to be out of the league. He's going to be Christian Ponder. He's going to be out of the league once we, whenever that happens, when we give up on him, he's going to be out of the league. I wish he was Christian Ponder at this point. Christian Ponder, at least, his first year, he didn't have his stats weren't a whole lot better than this, but at least he could throw like a basic pass. At least he could, at least there was some usage of his mobility. He would run a little bit, and he didn't step into anything like what J.J. McCarthy did. They handed the whole reins to this fucking clown. This guy who wants to call himself 9. Well, I think he has 9 turnovers now in the season, so that fits. But I mean, the interception, he threw a couple interceptions in this game, of course, because why wouldn't he? Just dog shit throws, stupid decisions. The one in the end zone when they maybe were starting to get a little momentum, and then he just throws the ball up for grabs in the end zone for no reason. Now we get some merging going here. He just throws the ball up in the end zone and it gets picked for no reason whatsoever. I forget what the score was at that point. I mean, the Vikings actually did. The game started with it was just everybody, but both teams were terrible. I mean, the Bears are not good. Caleb Williams was not good in this game. I mean, if Bears are having a charmed season, they got away with another one in this game. Although I wouldn't even say that they got away with one because they were the better team, or I should say the less shitty team. But they weren't good. It's like it's the story of the season. The Vikings haven't had a single game this year other than maybe the Charger game where the other team even played good. But we can't do anything. And it's not 100% on McCarthy every single one of these games. Obviously, he didn't play some of the games, but the guy can't play. He can't play. And if he's not going to even be used as mobility, another game, I don't believe there was a single designed J.J. McCarthy run the entire game. Everything's in the pocket. Like, if you're not even going to use him for that. Like at least when go back to Ponder. At least when Ponder started out, I mean, he'd run around. It felt hell, people were ripping him because he ran around. Alan McCarthy could benefit from running around. So whether he's just scared to run, whether it's injuries he doesn't want to do it, whether it's play calls, whatever, like he is an utterly useless waste of time. If this is what you're going to get from him, he's not going to ever be a pocket passer because he's not accurate enough to be a pocket passer. And I don't want to hear this. Well, he gets that with experience. These are basic fucking throws. There was one that absolutely made me insane today. It was like a 3rd and 7. He's got, I think it was Jefferson, wide open on the sidelines for an easy, just a pitch and catch, first down, keep the chains moving, and he sailed that fucking thing. It's embarrassing. He can't throw. He can't play. It's just basic shit. I'm sure the defenders will be like, oh, well, he had a little bandage on his hand this week. Well, he hasn't been accurate before, so why does it matter now? I mean, I might have to do some driving around because the traffic thinned up very quickly. Okay. But, I mean, this guy can't play. I've never, just watching this game as it went on, I have never in like almost 40 years of watching the Vikings felt this hopeless about the future of my team. Because it's not just the rest of this season, which is now over anyway. This season is over, but we're going to have to watch another, 7 games of this shit. And maybe he'll make a few good plays here and there and delude people into thinking that he's going to be something. But we threw away. Look, I was wrong. Okay, I ripped on Darnold a lot. With those last couple games. For God's sakes, bring him back. Can we redo that whole decision? I'm not saying Darnold's even. Darnold. I think the Seattle's playing right now. They're playing the Rams. Ironically enough, the team that kicked Darnold's ass at the end of the season, but. It doesn't mean that he's going to lead Seattle somewhere, but my God, if we just had a capable quarterback who could just make just basic throws, we probably would have won a couple of these other games that we've blown. Obviously, the Vikings win this game today if they get any sort of quality play at the quarterback position. That's not even close. They're not needing to make a little late touchdown drive to do something. If they get any kind of quarterback play in the first 3+ quarters, but JJ McCarthy's out there playing like a fucking, like, I wouldn't even call him an amateur. Like, these are throws. Some of these throws are like high school quarterbacks can make these throws. He can't make them. I don't want to hear. And if it's supposed to be mechanics or what? Well, what the hell have they done with him for the last year and a half? Again, these are things like some of these throws. These are throws you should master in college. This isn't like, oh, I come to the NFL and then suddenly and here's where I learn how to throw like a basic like sideline pass. Like, what do you? Oh God, I never liked the draft pick of JJ McCarthy. I was hoping that, like, okay, they're gonna, I'm not opposed to doing the rookie QB thing. Eventually every team has to do it eventually. We haven't done it that much. We did it with Ponder, we did it with Teddy, and in recent memory, those are the only two. But my God, Teddy Bridgewater. God, give me rookie Teddy Bridgewater right now. This team would be in the leading the division. Just give me just a caretaker quarterback of healthy Carson Wentz. This team is doing much better than they are. And again, I didn't like the draft pick when they made it. Now some of these other quarterbacks are not working out as well either. I know Penix, the Falcons lost today. Penix got hurt. Kirk came in. Kirk actually got him to the OT, but they lost. But Penix has struggled. Caleb Williams has not been good. But, and obviously Jaden Daniels was a sensation last year, then got hurt. Now this year, who knows what his future is going to be. Drake May might be the MVP of the league, or he's at least in the running. Like, it can go all different ways, but This fucking guy can't make basic throws, and he makes just asinine decisions. There were a couple other ones today now where he makes just, why are you making that throw in that spot? Why aren't you at least scrambling a little bit? I mean, has KOC just like banned him from being able to run around? What is the point of having a young mobile quarterback if he's never going to run? It's unheard of. Look at even just bad as Caleb Williams was again today, he made a couple plays with his feet, picked up a couple first downs. We don't have that weapon. We could have that weapon. I mean, we could at least have that positive thing from J.J. McCarthy if he could run a little bit. And they've thrown it all away. They have thrown away this franchise for this guy. They've thrown away, it's super, super Captain Hindsight to talk about Daniel Jones, because he was barely here, but it's a horrible look when you had Sam Darnold here. Sam Darnold's still a pretty young guy. Okay. Oh, I don't want to pay a quarterback. Well, you're gonna have to pay a quarterback some point in your life. For all the people who whined about the previous quarterback, getting paid for 6 years, it's like, well, you got to pay a quarterback once in a while. It's like, you could have paid Sam Darnold. You could, regardless of what he ends up doing with Seattle long term, like, he was a young guy. He could have been your QB of the future. Daniel Jones, again, it's super, super Captain Hindsight to be like, oh, why didn't you keep Daniel Jones? Because nobody thought he was going to be playing as well as he's played with the Colts, including the Colts, because I don't think he was even like a guaranteed starter for them. But you threw these other guys away because you decided that this is the guy. Hell, you traded up a spot in the draft to get him. You could have taken Bo Nix, and I know Bo Nix has had his struggles too, but it's like, I'm not saying it's 100% no chance that J.J. McCarthy ever turns into anything, but these people who think he's going to be the next Josh Allen just because, well, Josh Allen wasn't a superstar MVP right away. You're living in a fucking delusional state. Because for every Josh Allen, there's 500 guys who didn't turn into Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, he goes to, there's a big difference between going to a highly drafted quarterback going to a bad team, which probably has a bad roster, and you're taking your lumps that way. All we heard for the last 2 years was how this was the perfect situation for a young quarterback to step into, with Kevin O'Connell, with this roster, with Justin Jefferson, with all these weapons. This was supposed to be the perfect spot for a young quarterback to step into. Well, what if it wasn't? What if this J.J. McCarthy was on the 2011 Vikings with, like, Christian Ponder was? Would they have won any games? Again, it's not even like they were playing a good team. The Bears are bad. They have a good record, but they're a little bit of they got a little bit of fraud in them. But I'm without hope for this franchise, because it's going to be the rest of this season, and obviously, unfortunately now we're playing for draft position with a GM who can't draft, and whose decision with the quarterback, and also trading a bunch of draft capital for Dallas Turner, who just is not the impact defensive player we needed, and who has struggled mightily with other draft picks, and who spent a lot of free agent money on players who haven't done anything. Certainly not blaming the defense much today, but man, they gave up some big plays at times. But again, they've been put in these terrible spots all year because the offense can't stay on the field because J.J. McCarthy can't fucking play. And then obviously before J.J. we had the battered remains of Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz gave us our only real fun game the whole year, that Bengal game. That's the, I guess the the line game was fun, but I mean, fun upset, but that was obviously a fluke because this team 4-6. I mean, if they even match the 7-10 from a couple years ago from that whole fiasco, I would almost be shocked at this point. So we got 7 games left. Got road games at the Packers and Seahawks coming up. I mean, like, they won at Detroit, so it's like, come out of that game, you're thinking you're renewed with hope because it's like, well, they could go win anywhere. But that's also, clearly a fluke game. That was clearly a fluke. That's not what this team is. Thrown away the franchise on a bust quarterback. It's the fear of what happens. It'd be a different situation if, like, they went into this season with zero expectations of doing anything, and we're just like, okay, we're just gonna, like, I don't know, the Titans with Cam Ward, like, we're just gonna take our lumps with the young quarterback and he'll just gain experience and we'll go from there. This team was supposed to do something this year. Not win a Super Bowl. I didn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl. I didn't pick them to win the division. I did pick them to go to the playoffs, which was a mistake. But I mean, it's like there's differences with the roster this year. But I mean, they went from 14-3 last year, added to the roster, and they're going to be lucky to win half as many games. And the key change is at quarterback. So, I mean, as far as this game, I mean, like, they ran the ball well. Like, there was a tiny bit more interest from KOC in running the football. Like, even later in the game when they were down a couple scores, they were still some willingness to run the football. When they got the touchdown, Jordan Mason, but they get a nice punt return for Miles Price with no flag for once. I guess that's okay. We didn't have nearly as many penalties in this game. I think we only had one false start this week. Miles Price busts a long punt return with no flag for once, and then Mason busts off a touchdown run, and it's like they're in the game. Like they ran the ball pretty well. I don't know what the totals ended up being, but they ran the ball fine. I don't think it was even like necessarily a something like last week where it was like this huge imbalance run pass. I thought the balance was a little better, but McCarthy couldn't play. He couldn't do simple stuff, and I don't blame any of these. There were a couple of drops from receivers. There was one over the middle early in the game to I think Addison, who dropped one. There was one or two other drops in the game. My theory is that these receivers are so surprised that a pass is actually delivered on target that they have that momentary shock, and that they can't catch for that reason. But I mean, it's pulling teeth watching this guy. I'm not in for this. Well, it's just growing pains. These are basic. Some of these are just really, really basic plays and basic throws that the guy can't make. He can't make. And if he can't make them, offensive line was good today. I'm not even sure McCarthy got sacked in this game. So you even had the offensive line playing very, very well, again, against a pretty bad defense. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't, and this is the closest thing he's going to get to a playoff game, because this was season on the line today. Because you had to win this game. Even if they had ended up pulling it out with, in ugly as hell fashion with that late touchdown, 17-16, you would be a game behind the Bears. You'd probably be basically about a game out of the playoffs with the rest of the way to go, and maybe you could still salvage something. So, I'm never going to be like, who cares if you make the playoffs? I always rather make the playoffs than not. And here we are. It's 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and the season is over. This is not very common around here. Like, our disappointment is usually in January. Our seasons usually end in January, even if it's just getting eliminated from the playoffs, right at the end of the season or something like that. But they will not be playing unless they miraculously go on a run here, which is just not going to happen. There's zero reason to think that it's going to happen. They're playing for nothing the rest of the way. Development. There's going to be a lot. I don't even fucking know if I want to go to another home game this year. I might just sell off my fucking tickets, because those games at the end against the Lions and Packers, those are not going to mean anything for the Vikings. They might mean stuff for the other teams. The next home game is against Washington in a couple weeks. Another team that has just collapsed off of last year. They have more of an excuse because they lost their quarterback, although they were struggling before he went out. But I mean, not too excited about seeing Vikings Commanders in a few weeks. It's just we had that shot. If this team and this quarterback could just pull their head out of their ass and play like professionals and get this win, maybe you could win one of those road games, these next two. Then you got Commanders, Giants, and Cowboys all in a row before those two games at the end against the division. If you could have still been in it at that point, maybe. I mean, they were always going to be playing kind of from behind. It was probably best case scenario, maybe grab that last wild card, and then you probably go and get beat in the playoffs. But it's still worth doing. It's because now it's like 7 games left and they don't mean shit, except for developing a quarterback who is not going to develop. He's just not. He's not going to ever be worth this. And the problem is not just this season. They're not going to just. They're way too stubborn. They hitch their wagon so tightly to this J.J. McCarthy that they're not going to admit that they were wrong. After this season, no matter what, if he has 7 more games like today, they're still not gonna say, oh well, we gotta move off him and do something else in the offseason. I don't know who the fuck is gonna be available at quarterback. I've seen the name Kyler Murray mentioned, but that's not practical, because guess what? Then you're gonna turn him into a pocket passer. You're not gonna use his mobility either. It's just, that won't work. If there's and I don't know who the hell the draft prospects are coming up for this next draft, but if Vikings end up with, say, a top, probably good odds that they're going to end up with a top 10 pick at this point. I mean, if there's a quarterback prospect there, I mean, I don't know if you can trust their judgment now, because I think, I don't think J.J. McCarthy being a bust is that big of a surprise, really. But, if there's a guy there up high in the draft, like, do you take him? Do you? I mean, you got jobs on the line. Guess what? Guess what's going to happen? They're probably not going to do much. Unless some unusual scenario pops up and they can get some quarterback in the offseason. Some guy becomes available. I don't know who that would even be. You get a quarterback and then you move off of McCarthy. I don't. In year 2, I don't know if they would do that. I'm seeing the future, and I'm seeing not only that the rest of this season is a fucking waste, but next season might be a waste, because you go into next season, you're gonna have a last place schedule. That might help. You're gonna go into next season, and you're gonna have a totally just dejected fan base, and you're gonna sell. I mean, it's the league where anything can happen theoretically. Big turnarounds year to year. You're gonna sell hope to a fan base with J.J. McCarthy after what we've seen and what we probably are gonna see the rest of the way, with no real backup plan. What are you gonna do? Bring back Carson Wentz if he's still alive to be the backup? but he's no threat. I mean, he wouldn't be a threat. You know, I would gladly put Max Brosmer out there at this point. I don't give a shit. But my job isn't tied to J.J. McCarthy like theirs is. So, all right, we're off the freeway, so we're getting close to being home. I haven't even talked about this game much. I mean, fuck. Obviously, like I wasn't even excited when they scored that touchdown late, because one, I saw that it was, you know, there was still 50 seconds left. They had 3 timeouts. Even if they don't get that fucking kick return, because of course we have to then have a special teams breakdown at the worst possible moment imaginable. You know, even if that doesn't happen, there's still a good chance they get into field goal range, because we, you know, I mean, the defense tries. Like, the defense has the defense has a lot of veterans. Harrison Smith's 200th game as a Viking today should be his last. There was one absolutely whiff tackle attempt that he made at one point. Like, this again, this has been talked about. This is an old team. This is a lot of veterans. This is not a young team. This is a team with a lot of veterans. You signed some of these guys, you know, to contracts, and hell, they're getting paid billions of dollars, so maybe they don't care. But some of these guys have got to be thinking, why the hell did I come here to play defense for a team with no quarterback? I'm saying there's going to be like a revolt in the locker room, because the only other option at quarterback right now is Max Brosmer. They signed a Wolford guy from the Rams who played there a while back, you know, but that's nothing. Like, there's nothing now. You know, they made no effort in the offseason to do anything at the backup quarterback position. Sam Howell was not going to be much of anything. You know, I trusted them. A lot of fans trusted them on this J.J. McCarthy thing, and we all got sold a lemon, because J.J. McCarthy is a bust. I'm not saying he'll never have a decent game. You know, he's got enough, like, just, he got a little bit of a cannon, so at least he can make an occasional throw, but you're not going to be able to build, he's not going to be a franchise quarterback. You can't build a franchise off a guy who plays, you know, the way he plays and can't hit basic throws. You want to be a franchise quarterback, you got to always hit the basic throws and then make some spectacular throws. You can't hit the basic throws. You might be able to hit a spectacular throw once in a while. That's not a franchise quarterback. That's not anything you can build a franchise off of. So, incredibly frustrating game in an incredibly frustrating season. That is really draining. I've never felt this drained of hope for the future of the Minnesota Vikings as I do in this exact moment. Because you keep hoping. Like, I wanted to be wrong about J.J. McCarthy. I still want to be wrong about J.J. McCarthy, but I never believed, you know, that he was really going to ever be the guy. And it's like, this is the thing, you throw it. It's one thing if you're just like in a perpetual rebuild like the Browns or something, you're just always trying out new quarterbacks. It's like, well, whatever, just try the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. But this team less than a calendar year ago was playing futilely, but they were playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I think we all came down way too hard on Sam Darnold. And, you know, someone ran a red light. We all came down a little too hard on Darnold. Not saying he's, you know, savior of the world, but he could have been our guy. Someone else could have been our guy. They could have used that draft pick 2 years ago on a different player, different position. Who knows? But it's they blew it. They blew it. They blew it on McCarthy. And I hope that someday I can look at this video, amongst others, and just laugh at how wrong I was. I was getting cursed out on social media for being very, very anti-McCarthy after this, but what happened. They blew it. They blew it on this guy. He's never going to be worth what they gave up. You know, what they used the draft draft pick on, trading up to draft him, handing over the reins and destroying a 14-3 team. Other problems on this team, but I think everything else is workable if you just have a competent quarterback. We don't have one, and I don't think we're going to have one for a long time, unless something happens fast. So I'm just about home. It's the league. It's the league of quick turnarounds, but at this moment, I feel as little hope for the Minnesota Vikings as I have felt maybe ever. And there have been worse seasons, but you feel like you're building towards something. But I don't feel like they are building towards anything anymore, except maybe a real rebuild and maybe a lot of years that are bad. So, well, this is about the most depressing fucking video I've ever made, but this was a depressing day, and the season's over. Everything else is just academic and draft position. So that's it. Season's over. Vikings lose 19-17 to the Bears.